Okay, fantastic. So we are all set. So I'm Trisha Lamino. I'm a program specialist at the SELPA, and secondary students, the middle school, high school students, are my area of expertise. So I am happy to jump in here and talk about transition plans for today. If anyone needs to access interpretation, that is available for you, and you just need to look at the bottom of your screen and follow the directions that are on there. I also always like to say, make sure you follow us on social media. I post a lot on there, a lot of different things that are happening in our community, resources for parents, resources for school staff. So make sure that you are following us on our social. And then we also want to make sure that you're accessing Parents Helping Parents. It's our Family Resource Center, it's your Family Empowerment Center. So please, if you have questions, you need some support, or looking for support groups, trainings, all those amazing things, you can reach out to Parents Helping Parents. Okay, so let's dive right into transition plans. I'm going to share several different resources throughout as we go. So after this is completed, I will send out an email with the recording and with the resources, the slides, so you can access the resources and be able to look through those later. Feel free to share the recording if you have any friends or family that weren't able to make it. That is there, and it will live on our website as well. So, with transition, this is I every time I train high school staff on this, I like to throw this quote on there. So the future depends on what you do today, and it's so true with our students. I'm a firm believer in starting to talk about transition and adult life and independent self advocacy, all of that, when they're in elementary school, and then building those skills. Legally, we don't have to start in elementary school, but really that's when it should start, those conversations and skill building. 4 years in high school and then even a few years in adult program is really a very short amount of time, considering how hard adult life is and how much you need to know to be successful. So the more planning we can do right away, the better. So let's talk a little bit about transition plans. So right now, by law, they have to start before the age of 16. So before their 16th birthday, a transition plan has to be put into the IEP. But starting in July for the 25-26 school year, they now are asking for a transition plan to be at the start of their high school career. So that freshman year, having one in place to help support them. Now they do give us a little bit of flexibility. So if it's not appropriate for a freshman coming in, maybe they're just not quite there yet, just depending on the student, that does provide a little bit of flexibility to then be before their 16th birthday, but that should be more on the rare side. So starting next school year, it's going to move earlier. And really, that purpose is to support that transition to adulthood. And if you think about it, if you look at high schools, their mission statements, their vision statements, all of them have to do with preparing students for post secondary life. So, being college and career ready. And so, we know that students with disabilities are going to need a little extra. They're going to need something a little more individualized. They're going to need a little more support along the way. And that's really what that transition plan is about, is making sure that those conversations are being had and that we're having activities, we're providing activities and services to ensure they build those skills. And then the how is through the post-secondary goals, and we'll talk about that, and transition services, and and transition activities, and we'll talk about what that looks like. So here is what the actual legal mandate says per IDEA, so the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And again, for this one, it's before they turn 16. But again, California has opted starting in next year to change that. But through IDEA, the federal part, has to be before turns the age of 16, younger if appropriate, needs to include appropriate measurable post-secondary goals. And that's not the annual goal. So we'll talk about that. Post-secondary goals is more like, I want to become a welder. I want to go to Cuesta College. I want to live independently. So it's really these bigger, like long-term, what I'm moving towards goals. There needs to be transition assessments, informal or formal, and I'll share some with you. It needs to be related to the training for education, employment, and where appropriate, independent living skills. And then transition services need to be included as well, including that course of study. So let's look a little bit more. So here it is kind of laid out more in a visual format. It all starts, that transition process all starts with an age appropriate assessment. And those assessments happen every year. It's not the kind where you need to go and get an assessment plan signed, all of that. There's a lot that because it includes informal and formal assessments. And so a lot of those things are done throughout the school year with their high school special education teacher. And so it's really like this collection of information. And then a lot of times another additional assessment provided right before it. They're not like standardized tests, that type of thing. They include like interviews, questionnaires, and then I'll share a whole host of them with you. But it helps us kind of drill down, like, what is this child interested in? You know, do they know what they want to do already? I've taught high school for 15 years. Most teenagers don't know what they want to do. But it's really getting a feel for, like, you know, do they like working outside? Do they like people, animals, all that kind of stuff? Do they want to go to college? And then those post-secondary goals after the assessments, and then we determine like what are those transition services, which is activities, annual goals, all of that. So it's kind of laid out in this fashion. So it starts with that assessment, figure out what those goals are, and then we put stuff into the IEP to help support that development over the year. Here's another way to look at it. So it really starts with, this is like the construction of it. It starts with the student's interest and dreams, and family input is very important here as well. As we know, teenagers, you know, they don't have a fully formed frontal cortex yet, that part of their brain. They don't fully know what they want to do. My son, the other day, I asked him, he's like, I want to do real estate. And I'm like, oh, great. So you want to sell homes? No, I just want to collect money from people paying rent on my properties. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about what that actually looks like, how you might get there. I've had a lot of students, I want to be a professional athlete, or I want to be a rapper, or whatever. So you get a lot of really fun things from teenagers. So that's, the family input is so important. So that all kind of then helps us develop those last few steps that are on here. And then as they get older and they're above 16, we really start to look at the interagency collaboration. And that's tonight's presentation. We have these different agencies coming to present on what's available to a child with a disability starting at the age of 16, and then what do adult services look like as well. And there's a lot of different programs to help place students at job sites and build those really valuable skills. So I'm just going to take a check. Yes, I will be providing the slides. So that was a question. Yeah, the slides will be coming in. Actually, you know what? I can click out of here real quick just so I can drop it in the chat box for you. And then I will also put it in an email. There we go. Let's do both real quick. All right. So let's go a little bit deeper then. So transition assessments. What does a transition assessment look like for a teenage individual, or even an adult that's in the adult program? A big one that the teachers rely on, or we'll call them case managers in this case, are interviews. So really like sitting down, they know their student, the student feels comfortable with them. So they're really talking about, what do you want to do? What sounds interesting? Do you have any chores that you do at home? Have you had any work experience? And so having that opportunity to really like glean a lot of information from them through that interview. It's a really critical one. There's a lot of questionnaires that teachers access, and a lot of schools have a general questionnaire that they give every student leading up to building out that transition plan. So those are kind of like your general ones. And then as students get older, like, sometimes as freshmen, we're just trying to get some of those basic questions answered. And as they progress in the years, we can dive deeper and deeper. So some different transition assessments that you can access, these are all free. I put California Career Zone on there first because I do this with my own children. I did this with all of my students. It is a free website from the state of California. And I'm just going to click on it real quick so you can see what it looks like. But when you go into it, the students create an account. And so they can keep going back into that account and they can do like an interest profiler. They can see like what career might be a good choice for them through like a questionnaire. They can build a resume. They can practice job applications. They can search colleges as well. So this is a really great free resource from the state of California. So as a parent, you can also create an account and you can say you're a student if you want and see what they see, or you can say you're an educator as well. So highly, highly recommend California Career Zone. And then there's a lot of other ones on here as well. The ONET is a very popular one. This is an interest profiler. My Next Move is also California, state of California sponsored one. So this might be a great one. And you can check out I Want to Be. I'll know when I see it. I'm not really sure. And do some different little assessments on there. And so you don't even need to wait for the high school special education teacher. You can get on with your high schooler or your adult child and have some fun with those. I really enjoy them. My kids like doing it. And then there's some others. There's one that's picture based. And there's one that's a life skills assessment as well. So just some things to play around with and have some fun with your teenagers. Okay, so let's look now at the actual transition plan. So this comes fairly early on, after the present levels page. So it's a really vital piece of that IEP for a teenager. And really the law states in the IDEA federal law that when they become a teenager, the focus should really be transition focused. So this becomes a really important piece of this plan that we're creating for students. So this is like what the top portion looks like. We always want the student invited, whether they decide to attend or not, that's up to them. But it's really important to have their voice in the meeting. We also have that opportunity to invite agencies. So it could be someone from the regional center. It could be someone from Department of Rehabilitation. It could be someone from Workability. So, are there agencies that are involved with the student and that will be involved in their transition, or potentially maybe in the future? So they don't even have to be registered and working with them already. It could be something that, we would like Department of Rehabilitation to come and talk to us about what it could look like for my child receiving support at a job site or at a college, whatever it might be. And then we also, now you'll see where I have the pink lines. The question is, was a transition assessment used? So The answer has to be yes. The state of California wants to see yes. It's not appropriate to have a no. So it needs to be yes. And then we need to describe what are the results of that. What did we learn? What does the student want? All of those different types of things. And family input is really important in this part as well. What does the family want to see for their child? Do they want them to live independently? Do they want them to live at home? Is there a family business? Is maybe there's a family friend that would like the child to start trying out some skills at their work site? Are there chores that they're doing? All those types of things. So not only do we want to list what the student has come up with through assessment, but we also want to know what does the family think and feel and hope for their child. And then this bottom box, we'll talk about that a little bit more. So really that should be kind of a beefy part right there at the top. Like, what have we learned about what they want? What are their hopes and dreams and the families? Okay, and at any time, feel free to drop a question in the chat, or you can come off mute as well. So let's talk about post-secondary goals. So I mentioned it starts with that assessment, and we looked at some of those. And then we move into, okay, now based off of that, what are the post-secondary goals? And so there's 3 areas that we're looking at. We're looking at education, we're looking at employment, and we're looking at independent living. Now, independent living is not for every student. It's as appropriate as how it says it on the IEP. And so really we're looking at students that really struggle with this area of independent living, that are working on functional skills, that are still working on being able to dress themselves, being able to get ready for school independently, to navigate, walk around the campus independently by themselves. So really looking at kind of like more functional skills based instruction that's being provided throughout the day. So not every student is going to have an independent living post-secondary goal. And again, these are not the same as annual goals. So, annual goals are like, in 1 year's time, we want them to do X, Y, and Z. This is more of like, again, the students' hopes and dreams in these areas. So they're not going to get measured while they're in high school. They're these bigger, loftier, what are we working towards? So here are some different examples. So for education, it might be to go to Cuesta. It might be 4-year college, a trade school. Maybe it's an adult transition program, an adult community-based program, online courses. There's a lot of things that fall under that educational piece. And so really depends on the student. What do they want? And what does the family want as well? And then work. So under that employment section, they will work at as an intern. You can name a specific career. This is where they put a rapper or a professional athlete. They all love that one. So what is that specific career? Or it could be that they're going to participate in a community-based program that does volunteer work. So it doesn't have to be an money earning career. It can be that they're going to participate in a community program, that type of thing. So again, with our students, we have a huge range of what they might do. And then for that living one, they're going to live independently. They're going to live with the family, roommates, dorm room, assisted living facility. Again, that bigger picture of what are they going to do after high school. And so this is portion right here where I'm running my cursor over. That is where it gets listed. So on the first page of the transition plan, it gives you that basically a sentence starter. Upon completion of school, I will. And so here's an example. Attend Cuesta College and take classes in the auto body department. Okay. So it could be attend Cuesta College and take physical recreation, attend Cuesta College and do their early childhood learning. Or it could be early on, especially for like a freshman or a sophomore, just attend Cuesta College. So as they get older, we want to add more into it, more details, be more specific. But yeah. So I threw in what the law says right there about post-secondary. So it does not require that LEAs, your districts, are held accountable for the attainment of post-secondary goals. Just, we don't know if they're going to become a welder or not. They've already moved on into their adult life, and we no longer are working with them. But the stated measurable post-secondary goals are required components of transition planning. It helps us to be able to determine what classes should they be in. What type of skills are they going to need? If they want to go straight to a 4-year college, we need to make sure they're meeting A through G requirements. We need to make sure that they are fluent in reading and writing, in their mathematics. If it's a student who wants to go to a trade school, maybe we have a vocational pathway at our high school that they can start with. So it really helps with the transition planning, our courses, our activities, all of that. And then there are numerous mediating factors that positively or negatively affect an adult's acquisition of goals for which school could not be held accountable. So that makes sense. They're going to be adults at that point. They make adult decisions. But it's what can we do in high school to prepare them for what their ultimate goal is. So then that leads us then into the broader category of transition services. So within that, so we went from assessment to post-secondary goals of what I want to do after high school. Now, this is the part we can control while they're in high school. What are the activities that they're going to do? What are the annual goals that are going to support their learning and growth? And then what are the services? Like, how are we gonna do that? And with who? So this is how it gets broken down into this grid. So when you see this grid, don't feel overwhelmed. When you see this with your student, it's really breaking it down, all these concepts. So we talked about that starter sentence of upon completion of school, I will, and then that bigger idea of what they want to do. Now we start linking that idea of what they want to goals, to annual goals. It could be part linked to an academic goal. It could be linked to a transition specific goal. It could be linked to like a social skills goal, a mental health goal. So really, like, we're now connecting all the pieces of this IEP together in this transition plan. So we link it to an annual goal. And then up over here, we look at transition service code as appropriate. And so each transition plan has to have at least one transition service attached to it, but really ideally we like to see 2. I'll show you the most common codes in a minute of what those might be. So we link it to a transition service, and then we can list out these activities that we talked about. So I'll show you on the other page too of different activities, but it could be attending a college fair. It could be meeting with the counselor to build out their schedule. It could be volunteer opportunities that happen on campus. So it really just depends, but there's a lot of things throughout the year that a student can be doing to start building those like pre-employment, pre-college type of skills. And then again, you'll see that the same. So this one's for education or training. This one is for employment. And then the bottom one is for independent living as appropriate. So really it just breaks down the 3 areas into grids. So if you see that, that's what you're looking at. So, okay, so what are some of those activities? And this doesn't and then I would really encourage as a parent to be pursuing activities outside of school as well. So if you are, if you're traveling, visit college campuses. So they get an idea of what they feel like and what they look like, and look at college students, all of that. Visit different, if they say there's a career they're interested in, see if they can go be an observer for an hour or 2 hours or a day. So I really, really encourage you to explore activities outside of school as well, to help really start broadening their horizon of what's out there. Right. I feel like a lot of students are like, I'm going to become a teacher because that's what they see all day, every day. Or they pick a career that their parents do because that's what they understand. So the more we can show them this wide world of things that are out there. So activities to support their post-secondary goals: college career fairs, presentations, academic counseling, um, the CTE, that's the career technical education classes. Our high schools in this county are great. They have really fantastic programs like welding and building trades and auto mechanics and floral, childcare, early childhood learning. There's lots of different ones. And then transition lessons that happen in the classroom, graduation checks, making sure they're on track to graduate or be able to move on to the adult program, and a bunch of other stuff. So, lots and lots of different opportunities for them. And then if we can provide more of those at home as well. Okay. So again, feel free to drop things into the chat. So we know we're linking it to goals, right? We talked about the transition activities. The transition services are going to be on that service grid in their IEP. They have to have at least one. Most times they'll have two. So the most common ones, I guess we'll say, career awareness, college awareness, and then vocational assessment. Those are the three that you're going to see most often. Most likely you'll see career awareness and college awareness. So that's just start building that muscle for like, what am I doing post-secondary? And then minutes that you'll typically see, they're most often written as monthly services. And they're usually low in numbers. So like 30 minutes a month, maybe 60, but typically like 30. So just think of all the things a student already needs to do in their school day. And really most of it is focused. It's already focused on getting them ready for post-secondary. So now it's like we're just building in this little extra over the years to get them a little bit more, to get them thinking more, exploring more, connected to agencies, that type of thing. But really, after teaching high school for 15 years, everything that we do is to get them ready for graduation, is to get them ready for adult life. We know how hard it is. Adulting is hard, and they make you do it every day. I'm still upset about that. Every day, I got to show up and be an adult. So we're really working on that throughout their high school career. So it's just building those few extra minutes to have something a little bit more individualized. Okay, so let me show you what some transition goals might look like. So it could be one that's around like self-determination or self-awareness, right? So being able to understand their accommodations, modifications asked for them, that type of thing. So this might be like for a freshman, sophomore type of goal. It could be another one of that they can write a SMART goal around what they want their future to look like, right? Future education, future employment. It could be something like that. It could be a career exploration goal, right? Where they might say in a transition assessment or in an interview, I have no clue whatsoever what I want to do. So cool, let's start researching. Let's look, let's take more transition assessments, see what they suggest, and research some of them. And maybe it'll sound cool, maybe not. I had my son do it and it says he should be in hospitality, and he's like, absolutely not. So then it's like we started looking at like, well, why might I have suggested hospitality? because you like working with people, right? So what other careers are tied into that? And then a lot of them will be linked into their academic goals as well. And we know as adults, like we need to be able to read and write and write an email that makes sense and organize our thoughts, and we're continual learners for life. So it's very appropriate for them to be attached to annual goals that are around academics as well. Okay, so that's a lot. So that you can start to see why this transition plan is so important. Because it's really helping us to determine what courses does this child need to take? What annual goals should we have in place? What extra support are they going to need along the way? Let's make sure that they're stepping out of their school career, their high school career, with a foot forward, ready to make a step into that adult world, which it can be very scary, as we know. So this is page 2. It's a 2-page document. On page 2, they're going to list things like district graduation requirements. Each district is different. So what is the district saying you have to have in order to receive your diploma? It's also going to list specifically what your child needs to have for their course of study. As they get older, that list is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, hopefully, because they're taking those courses and passing them. So eventually, their senior year, they should only have a few courses listed on there. But it lays out like, here's what they need. Here's what freshman year is going to look like, sophomore, junior, senior, right? Of course, that can change, as they meet with their counselor, and they may change their mind on like what electives, that type of thing. But it's kind of laying out this course of study. What are the 4 years going to look like? And then for our students going into the adult program, what's the adult program going to look like as well? It's going to list those credits that are completed. So how are we doing towards graduation? How many are left? Is your child on a certificate of completion track or a diploma track? Very, very important conversation. And then now also we have this alternative pathway to a diploma. So have you discussed that? Is the child moving towards this alternative path? That path is for our students who have intellectual disabilities, that are eligible to take the alternative California assessment. And we'll provide another training on that one because there's a lot to it, but that is a new one in the state of California. We're also going to talk about the age of majority. And this has to be done before their 17th birthday. So age of majority is that when your child turns 18, they are legally an adult and they are the ones making decisions about their education, about their IEP. They're the ones that get invited to their IEP, and then we can ask permission. Can we please invite your parents? Can we please have your parents part of this conversation? But in the eyes of the law, 18, they're legally an adult. So we need to get their permission to have parents there. And I never once had a student say no. If I ask, hey, I know you're 18. Can I go ahead and send this invitation to your mom and make sure that she's available as well? Yes, right? They're still in high school. They still need our support. I have a 17-year-old. He still needs a lot of support for sure. So it's just making sure we respect their right as an legal and adult. But again, when asking, they always say yes. And then that conservatorship question, and this goes for a lot of our students in the adult program. Has your child been conserved? Right? We don't need to know for everything, but for educational decision-making purposes. So if that's the case, then that age of majority no longer matters. the conservator is the one that is going to be making those decisions. Okay, any questions so far? A lot of information at once. Oh, I have people in the waiting room. There. Okay, so again, that second page of that IEP, we're talking about district graduation requirements. What do they have to do to get that diploma? What is the specific course of study for the child? And then what are we looking like? How, like, are we going to meet that graduation deadline, right? Are we going to be able to do it in 4 years? Are we going to be going on to the adult program? All of those different types of things really get nailed down in this page 2. All right. So I'm gonna, oh, I forgot. There's a few more clicks. I apologize. So I'm gonna go back real quick because, oh my gosh, sorry, I forgot with all the clicks. Let me do it this way. Let me go back real quick so we can look at this image one more time, right? So when you are sitting down with your IEP team, right, and you're sitting at this annual IEP meeting, or maybe it's a reevaluation meeting, it's appropriate to ask what assessments were used to help determine the information for the transition portion, right? And remember, informal is fine, informal and formal, both are great. And that a lot of this information is collected throughout the year when they work with the student. So it's not like that reevaluation year where you have to sign the assessment plan page, all of that. From there, we determine those post-secondary goals. What are those, like, what do they want to do after high school, college, career, independent living? And then we focus in on what are we going to do during that school year? What are going to be the activities? What are going to be the annual goals? What services are we going to provide? So really that lays out the big picture of what it looks like. And then let me go to this page. And then it's all laid out for you in this service grid, in this grid of information. All right, so those are the things you're going to look at. What goals is it linked to? What services are they offering? What activities was your child going to participate in to get to that point? If they want to be a welder, what are they doing in school to prepare them for that? Right, and there's a lot of different skills that can be taught while in high school. Okay, so let me go back to this page right here. On this page, and again, remember, I'm going to send out the slide deck to you because there's lots of resources linked on there. So if you just popped in a few minutes ago, there's a whole page on the different assessments that you can do with your child. They're free. But here are some resources for you as a parent. The first one, Connections California. They are up in like the San Jose area, I want to say, Santa Clara, I think. But they have, their website is phenomenal. As they're actually a Parents Helping Parents as well. Not ours, our Parents Helping Parents, but another one. And they have a whole section on just transition to adulthood. They offer lots and lots of trainings that you can jump onto virtually. And so if you bookmark this page, and you can go on and see all of their different events. There's so many, and I've actually presented for them as well. So really great organization, lots of different stuff you can get, and they do it in multiple languages. So share that out with friends as well. I highly recommend being connected to this website and this organization. And then Puentes Bridges, they help bridge that connection as students are transitioning to the adult world, adult life, working with agencies, receiving services, all of that. So I connected their website here as well. Our website also has a lot of things that you can access as parents. And one of ours, all of our parent learning videos are on here. So this one will get added. But we also have that transition to adulthood, and we have information and resources there. I'm always here to answer questions as well. I spend a lot of my time in the post-secondary education and planning world. Think college. If you have a child with a intellectual disability, Think College helps connect you to all these different college programs for students with intellectual disabilities, where they can go either they go and take classes, or they can live there and live in dorms and have the college life experience. They typically audit classes, they do different jobs around on the campus, and they learn how to live independently, like cooking for themselves, all of that. So Think College is a really great resource. Lots of different things that you can, articles and research you can dive in and search to see what's out there. I listed California Career Zone again, California Transition Alliance. This is made up of educators across the state. And so there's lots of resources for families on there around transition. We have college career resources. This is actually a PDF, but it links you to lots of things that are happening, and links that are you don't want to lose, like how to do financial aid and career surveys and the Quest to Promise. What is the Quest to Promise? All of those kind of things. So that is there for you as well. I also want to let you know that the Quest to Promise, sometimes it feels like I don't know if my child will be able to take any classes. I don't know if they'll be able to do that. Remember that there is a disabled student services office that can help provide those accommodations and supports. Now, it's not going to be the same as what they get in high school. It's totally different. But they do have a place where they can receive assistance. And so, make sure you keep that in mind as a place that they can go and get help. And if they determine that a full load for your child is one class or two classes, that can still count as through their plan through a full load for the Quest to Promise. So in order to get the 2 years free of City College, you have to take a full load, which is considered 12 units. Well, for students with disabilities, that might be way too much. So they can reduce what a full load would look like. So they could start off taking an art class and a PE class, right? Get used to what it feels like to be a college student, and then continue to build from there. So just, keep that in mind. It doesn't mean it's not like an all or nothing with Quest to College. There's a lot of different opportunities for students of all different skill levels. The other thing I included on here is the transition timeline. And this is from that organization, Connections California, that I showed you. And it lays out, so you may want to print it because it's hard to see, but I'll try and increase the size here. But they have it listed out, like, what should you think about for students under the age of 12? From 12 to 16, 16 to 18, and up. So what are some different activities and things that you could be doing as a family, and the school can be helping to facilitate as well, and helping with different activities or types of things. So it's just kind of a good layout to look at what you could start doing at a much younger age instead of waiting till they're at that 18. So very great one. Connections California is also great. They talk a lot about connecting to agencies and public benefits and financial assistance and all that as well. Okay, so a lot of resources, and then we have our own Parents Helping Parents on here. And so they're another organization too, just like this San Luis Obispo County SELPA, that you can reach out to for questions or connections to resources and groups and that kind of thing. So the last part, and then I'll stop recording so we can take any questions that you want. Don't forget to join us tonight at 5 because we have our agencies coming to speak. So we will have Department of Rehabilitation, Questa College, PathPoint, NCI Achievement House, Eckerd Connects, me for Workability. I supervise the Workability program. Tri-Counties Regional Center, Quintus Bridges. I think that's everyone. I was trying to picture my list. So quite a few people, they'll each have 10 minutes to share what they do and their resources. So great way in a very quick amount of time to see what is happening in San Luis Obispo County to support our individuals with disabilities. So I'm very excited about that. It's one of my favorite evenings of the year. So I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.